Hi everyone, welcome. We are live. I was thinking about a few reframes that have been really helpful recently and that I wanted to share. Of course, I could do a video, but of course, videos take a little bit more time, a bit more effort. Um, and sometimes it's just easier to be spontaneous and just share and take on questions, comments, and so on. So please don't hesitate to let me know what you think. The first one is one that I used recently when working with someone who was struggling to come to the terms with the fact that his partner of many, many years was incredibly toxic. So he'd sort of picked up on some of the toxicity, but was still going through the phase where he blamed himself. He wasn't able to make sense of it, and he was really struggling with integrating, on the one hand, the events that he saw and the person that he believed he'd been in a relationship with. And of course, when we're in this situation, we're faced with two people. There's the person that we love, the person we're in a relationship with, and then there's the person who has been acting in front of us, and the two don't match. And of course, even if we understand narcissism and toxicity, this can be really difficult to come to terms with. But if we don't know about it, we feel like we're going crazy and we don't know who we're faced with. And it's really hard to use the right frame. So I did a simple reframe that I think worked pretty well. Before I go into this, I'm just thinking, how familiar are you with reframes? How much do you understand what a reframe is and how it works? You can let me know in the comments, and then I can calibrate. I can adjust what I'm saying to that. And also, by the way, let me know where you're tuning in from. It's always good to know where people are. In short, a reframe, the way to explain it would be to view things from a slightly different point of view. It's sort of the glass half full, half empty. Someone would be saying, the glass isn't full, that's terrible. And someone else might say, well, there still is some liquid in the glass. So, the reframing is sort of balancing out two different points of view, bringing a bit more nuance. So he was struggling with coming to terms with the fact that this person, he'd spent more than a decade, like 16 years with her, was trying to understand why she was acting in such a horrible, disturbing way. I'd used before the reframe of viewing them as vampires. I actually did a video about this. I think the vampire figure is really helpful to understand how narcissists function. And I believe that the vampire figure, be it Dracula or Nosferatu, I feel that largely it's a warning about narcissists to help us identify the toxic behavior, the fact they suck life out of everyone. We invite them in our homes, and all of these, all of the characteristics of vampires seem to be applying to narcissists. If we don't take it literally, if we just take it, metaphorically, but it gets pretty close. What I did here, I didn't feel that talking about vampires was the right thing, but instead, I I came up with the following reframe, and this is what I think can be really important. Imagine that you discover that the narcissist, the toxic person in your life, actually is a robot. Actually is a humanoid robot. You can think like the Terminator robot, where everything seems human, but underneath it's metal and it's machine and the software. And this robot was programmed specifically to infiltrate your life, to play the part of the perfect partner. And once they're inside, there's some kind of bug in the system, and they sort of self-destruct and try to destroy you. And then they move on and try to hurt and abuse other people. And so I suggested this, and it really hit home. And of course, this is a reframe, but I think the question here is saying, if you knew for sure that this person actually was a robot and actually The personality that you liked was fake. It was a computer program, just software. But actually, the person is some sort of blank slate, but is now acting out in a negative way, not because of anything you did, but because of the way they were programmed. What would you do? How would you behave? And however you would behave if you were faced with a murderous psychopathic robot programmed to destroy you, maybe that is the way you need to behave now. Regardless of the pain, regardless of any of that going on, there's a self-preservation instinct we have. And I'm certain if we knew that we were faced with a murderous robot who was programmed to destroy us and had been programmed to seduce us, but all of that was fake and we had the computer code in front of us to know it, we would be it would be very easy for us to just re-enter self-preservation, get our life back on track, protect ourselves mode. And I think that that's really helpful. With these frames, by the way, framing is pretty much any worldview. I always figure these worldviews need to answer three characteristics to be helpful. First of all, they should be falsifiable. In other words, if someone says the world is a certain way, well, what kind of proof would show things the other way? Secondly, they should help us predict. A worldview that doesn't help people predict is pretty much useless. But if the two first criteria don't work, at least it should help us be happy. In this case, I'm just thinking this through as I talk about it. In this case, if we can reduce the toxicity in our life, if it helps us make better decisions, true or not true, it's helpful. And that's good enough. In these situations, when we have been gaslit, when we don't know what's right, what's wrong, we don't know what's true, we don't know who the other person is, being able to protect ourselves to some extent is better than nothing. That's already a pretty large improvement. So I said this to him, and of course he was going like, "But how is this possible? If this were the case, it would be irrelevant. We would not try to understand who programmed the robot, how it happened, if it's possible to reprogram the robot. We'd just go, the person in front of me is a robot. I want them out of my life. I was duped. I thought they were human. They're a robot. Out." Anything like this that helps us sober up and sort of snap out of the hopium, the procrastination. That's something else I thought about earlier. Is it hope? Was it procrastination? Are we procrastinating because we're hoping things might get better? Or are we hoping as an excuse to procrastinate? Because we know exactly what we should be doing when relationships are not going well, and for some reason we don't do it. Maybe it's procrastination. Anyway, if it can help us snap out of this procrastination and the hopium and move forward simply by considering this person as being a malevolent robot, or somebody programmed a robot to come into our life and destroy our life and destroy us from inside, well, that might be quite helpful. So try this reframe. Just view them as being a robot that was programmed to dupe us and then afterwards to destroy us. And that was the goal all along. This can make it much easier to stop being angry at them. If you knew it was a robot, you wouldn't be angry at a robot. It's just a robot. And the person who programmed the robot, you'd be disgusted, but angry, but like, well, the person tried to infiltrate my life and they managed. And now what do I do? I'm just getting, hey, good to see you, Leslie. So acceptance of who the person is without our hopes that said person can change and we can help in some way is one of the hardest. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, 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 yes. It means letting go of so many things. The hope, the dreams, but just accepting the reality. And I think for a lot of us, it's really hard to accept reality. Maybe because when we were children and we saw reality, we were told that if you do this, you won't be safe. You cannot accept reality because if you accept reality, you'll be shouted at, you'll be punished. Accepting reality is makes it dangerous. I was actually listening to Tim Ferriss talk with Gabor Mate, and I really appreciate Gabor Mate. He talks a lot about trauma and addiction. And he was saying something about authenticity, that being authentic, so saying what we think, saying what we believe, regardless of what other people think, it's one way of just expressing our gut feeling and being able to listen to ourselves. And if we repress this, then we repress our survival instinct, and it makes us feel threatened. And that's one of the reasons why um, the sort of like a universal topic, free speech is so important, so we can talk through bad ideas that we might have. But if we can talk through it, we can eliminate the bad ideas. And oh, seriously, shine bright. Okay. Oh, I'm really happy to hear that. Really happy you've been finding the videos helpful. Okay, well, do you want to, if you have any questions, ask me about the questions and we can talk through this. The person narcissist as a robot. And I'm happy to run you through this. Might be helpful for other people also. I think largely this ties into the second point somehow. Acceptance also means giving up on life we picture with a narc. Yes, all future hopes, dreams, we can make them true. Another loss to overcome, but a future waits. Yeah, first of all, a better future does await. I released, and by the way, apologies for releasing the video twice. I released a video today, and I did a different version yesterday. The one yesterday had music in it, and the one today I removed the music. It's simply because I figured if people want to listen to the song, they can just go and listen to the song. I was talking about this song called Again by a band called Archive that really helped me snap out of a relationship that was toxic about 15, 16 years ago. I didn't know anything about narcissists or toxicity, but the song asked a very simple question, which is, if I were to walk away from you, my love, could I smile again? And for me, that was absolutely key. I knew that if I stayed in the relationship with the person, the heaviness would continue. It would be really difficult to be light, to be happy, to be smiling. And that's not the future that I wanted, neither for myself nor for children. There were a lot of things like exes gravitating around there, just going, I don't see a happy future with this configuration. I don't see the configuration changing. So what am I going to do? We have to give up the future that we pictured with a person, but we also have to understand that future never was going to happen because it was based on lies. It was calibrated to seduce us. That's the same. I'm trying to get this picture of someone saying, "You love modern art. Come with me, and I will show you the most beautiful art museum you can imagine, full of modern art and all art. You're going to walk into this building. It will be amazing." And you walk into a building, and it's empty, and there's dung everywhere, and it stinks, and it's awful. And you're standing in there, and you look around, and you go, if this is modern art, this is really weird modern art, but it's not at all what I expected. And you struggle to come to terms with the fact that you're in a place that stinks and is full of dung. But the main thing is, it can be difficult to walk out to say, but I hoped that it would be amazing. I hoped there would be all of the beautiful Miro and Picasso and all of the beautiful artists I wanted to see. But then you have to realize the person just lied to you. There never was such a place. It didn't exist. They just knew that to lure you in, they'd have to talk about this. And it worked. It worked. But once you're there, what do you do? So that's important. Let go of that. And also let go of the person that we were before. And often we want to go back to that person. And it's really hard to go back to the person because that was the person who got duped to walk into the modern art museum. There was just a bunch of cow dung. So we have to let go of that person. We can't go back to who we were before. And maybe it's a good thing, because maybe if we were that person again, we'd get duped again. And maybe we are the stronger person that we didn't want to be, but we became. So what do we do with it? Would I want to go back to the person I was before? Maybe part of me wants to go back to the love bombing phase. I used to, but now that I know that the love bombing phase was a lie and I was duped, I don't want to be duped again. And maybe my life will be less pink, less rose, less, so it's not even joyful, but I get this image of walking to a candy store. It's going to be less like that, but at least it will be real. And that's one of the big decisions I made was give me reality. Lies lead to hell. I felt all of the pain, like physical pain of being in hell, physical pain of having the emotions choking me inside, of the emotions, the guilt, the terror, and then the physical pain working through releasing these emotions. I've been there, absolute hell. I came out. Just give me reality. Reality is paradise. All I want is reality, authenticity. Doesn't have to be amazing. Your modern art place, it doesn't have to have Picasso and Miro. All it has to be is a place without all the countdown everywhere, and maybe if there's one nice painting, I'd be happy. At least if it's real, if it really can be the case, that's an upgrade. That for me was really important. Oh, hi Ian, good to see you. Yeah, exactly. Con game, absolutely, Leslie. It's con game. If you, there's, by the way, there's a very good book called I've forgotten what the name is. A book about con men. If you read about con men, The Deception Game, something like that, by Maria Konnikova, something like that. Really good book about con men. Ironically, I read it when I was in a relationship with a narcissist, and I wasn't understanding the way it was, the similarities. But that was a really good book. Very interesting to read, and it's a really interesting reframe. Narcissists are just con men for relationships. Yes, absolutely, Ian. Absolutely. Knowing that we're not in a normal relationship and we're dealing in a hostage situation, yes, that's true. And I'm really sorry to read about your children. But indeed, we have to deal with this as a negotiation, a hostage situation. Um, it's simply it's the way that produces the best outcomes in my experience. Now, I'd like to, because I got sidetracked there, I'd like to share with you the second reframe that I think is pretty important. I just realized as I was preparing this, it's slightly inspired by a reframe that Scott Adams shared. Scott Adams is the Dilbert cartoonist, and I highly recommend listening to his podcast and following his work. He shared a reframe that changed a lot of people's lives, removing anxiety from the life. And in this case, I guess I was inspired indirectly, but I think this reframe is going to be helpful for you. So, I was walking today in Venice, in Italy. I hadn't been here for, I'm getting decades wrong, but for 28 years. It's been a very long time. Venice is mind-blowingly beautiful. It's so nice. The canals are so nice. It's nice to be there, nice to walk around, nice to see the light, the smells, the buildings. The food is wonderful. It's, for many people, it's something they'll do once in their life and maybe never, but they'll see the videos. And we know that in these situations, if we're in a relationship with a toxic person, we don't enjoy the moment. We don't appreciate the moment. And if we've broken up, if we're heartbroken, if we've been gaslit, if we're trying to understand it, we're not enjoying the moment. We're carrying this heaviness with us. And so often we feel guilty. We feel like it's because of something we did that we lost the person and we're not sure. And that's one of the most cruel parts of it. If the person just said, listen, I don't like you, I just played around with you, none of that was real, then we'd grieve and move on. But they never quite say that because they like to shift the blame and they like to play around as sort of a cat and mouse thing that's really perverted. So I was thinking, imagine you do a list of 100 things. Actually, let's rewind. The reframe here is view this as a human experience that you're having. Some people said, yeah, it's not that we're humans having a spiritual experience, social experience. We're souls having a human experience. Imagine that you're a little soul teleported down into a body, and you've got a life path. And the life path is going to give you all of the lessons you need in order to make your soul grow. And if you're stubborn, like I've been stubborn, you get prodded into the right direction. And the more stubborn you are, the more painful the prodding is. So imagine you're having this human experience, and a lot of it is related to pain and suffering, death, illness, frustration, finding boundaries, standing up to narcissists, standing up to bullies, respecting ourselves, lying ourselves, and so on. Not lying to ourselves. In between all of the difficult parts, we can have some amazing experiences. And maybe it's worthwhile just writing down, let's say, 50, 100 experiences that we can have in this life that would make this life more worthwhile. Walking around the canals of Venice definitely is one of the experiences that makes this life more worthwhile. When we're on our deathbed and we look back, we can think, I saw the canals of Venice. I visited New York. I spent time in a mountain. I went mountain climbing or rafting. I had good dinners with friends who counted a lot. We go through all of these moments of gratitude. I did that when I was in Almaty in Kazakhstan. I had dinner with a few of my friends, some of whom don't really speak English, and I don't speak Russian. One of them, Arman, I'm thinking of him. A friend was interpreting, and I was saying, it means a lot for me to spend time with people I like, even if we don't speak the same language. I'm just happy to be in their presence. And I was really happy to see Arman, to see my other friends there with whom I did this training. Now, if we view all of this as being a human experience, on the one hand, the pleasant ones are too precious to neglect. But on the other hand, when we're going through heartbreak or when we're being gaslit, that's also a human experience. It might make it a bit easier to take a step back and go and show curiosity as to what is it I'm feeling and how am I feeling it? And also, what is this detracting from? That's really important. To remember what it is we're losing, because that is going to help motivate us to move forward and get our life back on track, because time is precious. And then also, let's imagine you go to, I think the volume is better when I do this. Let's imagine you go to Venice. You've got 4 days there. And on the first day, you break your sunglasses. Okay. Your sunglasses are broken. It's upsetting. You know that you can spend the next 3.5 days beating yourself up for breaking your sunglasses, but then you're missing out on the Venice experience. So you'll be in the gondolas thinking about your sunglasses. You'll be having lunch thinking about the sunglasses. You walk in front of sunglass stores looking at the sunglasses, and it's going to be at the forefront of your mind. Or you just go, well, that was annoying. If you need to shout, shout, get it out of your body, and then go, I'm not going to let this spoil my next days in Venice because I don't have that much time. The time is significantly more precious than a pair of sunglasses. So yeah, annoying, absolutely, and not annoying enough to be worth spoiling all of the Venice experience. Maybe trying to have this kind of reframe about toxic people, about the experience we have, helps us take a bit of a step back and just observe what is happening, observe what is at stake, be a bit more curious, and think, how much time am I willing to spend mulling over these people? They are horrible, yeah, absolutely. But once I have sort of the framework to understand who they are, how they operate, that I'm not crazy, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to mull over it and stay angry for a long time? We can do that. I mean, some people clearly are planning to spend the next decades being angry about it. A lot of them, some of them monetize it. They've got very successful YouTube channels. They earn a lot of money. So maybe that's worth it. But then we can also think, if you could get paid to be angry for the rest of your life, is that the kind of life that you want? Some people would say, yeah, bring it on. Like, I want to stay angry, so might as well pay me. Like, okay, fine. But if you don't want to be angry, if you don't want to live the rest of your human life with an anger experience, but you want more joy, more happiness, um, then maybe remember it's a human experience. And you can do the exercise where you draw squares. So you can do a 10 by 10 square. So you get 100 squares. And just, color it. The first 20 years with children. The last 20 years, if we're still around between 80 and 100, we're really lucky. The 10 years before that, 70 to 80, if we're still able-bodied and able-minded, we're doing pretty well. So we've got roughly 50 years. And I'm guessing most of us here are not 20 years old anymore. So the time we have left is not really that long. If you're 50, that's another 20 years. If you're 40, that's only another 30 years. What percentage of this time are we willing to allocate to anger, to bitterness, when we could be doing other things? When we could be walking around St. Marco in Venice, or visiting Machu Picchu, or learning a new skill, learning to play the piano, learning a new language. There's so many other things. So imagine you have this time and you can allocate it in different ways. And you decide where you want to allocate it. The healing part is important, absolutely. And what else are we doing with this? And once we think of it as being an allocation, like we can allocate time to anger, that's absolutely an option. What is the opportunity cost? What else could we be doing with it? The more we view this as a choice, the more empowering it is. I think that's quite important. In terms of reframe, by the way, this reminds me of one that Scott Adams did, which was reframing alcohol as entertainment. And that struck me as weird at first. So I haven't drunk for a while because of the energy healing I can't that I do, that I practice. I can't drink, but I used to enjoy wine and good spirits, and enjoyed the taste. But then when he reframed this as being entertainment, it really made me think, because he said, yeah, you can watch sport on TV, you can go and play sport, you can go to concerts, or you can drink. So it's just another form of entertainment. When we view it as being entertainment, it changes our relationship to it quite a bit. And I think when we view time as being something we can allocate towards, I think that changes the relationship quite a bit too. So that was the second reframe. We're just visiting in this life. Time is going by. And what experience do we want to have? And how long do we need to spend in each experience? And what else could we be doing? What would we prefer to be doing? Imagine if all of you were here in Venice with me, and we were walking around and sharing ideas and thoughts and experiences, and talking about architecture, painting, food, gastronomy, discovering nice things, nice places. That would be a nice experience. So I'm just catching up on the comments. Oh wow! Okay, Ian. So you say that she would describe herself as an alien, a robot at times. Sometimes, by the way, with narcissists, listen to them. When they say they are robots or aliens, when they say they are broken, when they say they are, and I knew a few of them, like broken, damaged goods, believe them. Someone who loves themselves doesn't do this. If somebody believes they're damaged goods, let them go and see a shrink and let them start dating once they have figured these things out. This is so important. If the person's an alien, go back to where you came from. Go back home. If the person's a robot, go back to the scrapyard. Just get out. This is not a way that someone who loves themselves describes themselves. Believe them. If they say something like this that's true, why would we assume that it's not true and just hyperbole? Of course, they mess around with us. Sometimes it's good to take these things really literally. because I believe quite often they want to see how far they can push us before we react. So keep ears open, eyes and ears open. Someone had been grappling hooks in you, taught to put yourself away from them. Helps grant you take power back to be celebrated. Yeah. Reframing is really important. Seeing things from a different point of view. That's simply the I'm looking for, here we go. If you see this and I'm seeing this, we're not seeing the same thing. It's important to try to have a 360 point of view about these things. It helps bring more nuance, and it's so easy to get stuck in one little way of seeing things. The reframe, it makes it easier to open up to more acceptance, more what if, and try creating your own ones. I think it's really helpful. Charlie. Not sure I deserve to be given only 10 years, 12 years. Exercise, read books. Put it this way. If we only have 12 years, or if we live them as though we only have 12 years, we might get more, and all of that is bonus time. But imagine living 12 really full years and then getting an extra 20 years. Why not? There's no reason why we won't live up to 80, 90, 100 if we exercise, if we reduce the stress that comes with narcissists. Remember, by the way, stress, the two types of stress, eustress and distress. Eustress is when you know that you can do something in the allocated amount of time, such as you've got an hour to clean your bedroom and it has to be done well. You can do it in an hour. If you don't believe you can do it, that is distress, and that's demotivating. Demotivating stress produces fear. This is something that we can tolerate for short bursts, short amounts of time, but having long-term stress, we're not designed for this. And we can see, I'm sure you've all had it, being in a relationship with a narcissist or a toxic person, or breaking up, you have different problems with sleep, skin, bags under your eyes, maybe losing your hair. This is the body reacting to intense stress that it's not designed to have, and this shortens our lifespan. That's one of the reasons why it's so important. Heal, move forward, find resources that are really helpful. That's one of the reasons why I get so upset when I see so many unhelpful videos on YouTube, people who haven't figured things out, who haven't sorted out their situation, and they're just emoting and other people listen to them because it's a whole group of people who emote together. I understand the sentiment, but I think it's not helpful or respectful to anyone. Of course, they lack awareness. They don't realize that they haven't got things figured out. You can see on the faces when they're angry, all of them. Angry ones like, narcissist didn't that. Those people are just making things worse. And it just isn't, it's not helping people extract themselves from toxicity. And I think it's so important because the more time we spend in toxicity, the shorter our lifespan. So I'd budget for 70 years. Consider the next 10 years our bonus. And if we do things properly, then we have another 10 or 20 years after that. It's not easy to do. I've been so resistant to doing it. But the thing is, once we're able to sort of pass over this, and we're able to budget the time we have left, the relief is massive. It's much easier to be in the present. And I'm positive I wouldn't have been able to enjoy this day walking around Venice as much at all if I hadn't done this. I've still got more work to do in terms of being more present in the moment. But man, it's just day and night. I was thinking back to a few years ago. Wow, it's day and night. Even if things continue this way, this life is good, and it's going to get better. But even now, it's good. So shine bright. I think once seen light is very enlightening. Clarity is real, and the hardest thing is moving forward and remaining strong through what is initially hard and unstable times. Yeah, I think one of the keys is embracing truth. Once we come across something that is true, we can't unsee it. And it's really important, I think, to look for this because it helps us just, well, navigate better, have a better life. Uh, yeah, and it's also hard to move forward when we're not used to listening to ourselves, not used to moving forward, and not used to taking this risk where, yeah, we're not used to doing it. But then sometimes we have to think, well, what's the alternative? The alternative is worse. What can go wrong, really? And things are going to work out, and trust that things are going to work out. It's one of the most beautiful things, I think. I remember Jordan Peterson talks about throwing the dice and accepting the result, or throwing the chips and accepting wherever they fall. That's the best way to live. You know, we all will depart from this life at one point. The best we can do is to depart from it with the biggest smile possible, and without well, having lived it with as little fear as possible. We'll be fine. It's just an experience we're having. You know, if this were a video game, and let's say you get parachuted into some or whatever city, and you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe you're going to be, we get parachuted into life. Maybe you're going to be a queen. That's quite appropriate these days. Maybe you'll be a queen. Maybe you'll be a fisherman. Maybe you will be a farmer somewhere. Or maybe you'll be an astrophysicist. Well, enjoy that experience. By the way, I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. There's a very good video by the channel called Kurzgesagt, and the video is called The Egg, based on the story of the guy who wrote the book The Martian. I forget his name. Andy Weir, I think, Weir. I recommend you watch it. It's one of these things where we can't disprove it, but it helps people lead a much happier life. It's very nice video. Ian, you're welcome. You're okay. So you say the reframing helps so much. So both of these reframes. Is there any one specifically? Yeah, I think the two sort of tie in together. On the one hand, reframe the other person as a toxic robot programmed to seduce us, but then the program doesn't really work because it's not really human, and it's also programmed to deny that it's a robot. Maybe that's the next level. It's programmed to deny that it's a robot. So when you start pointing out the contradictions, it just protects itself. And this, by the way, in terms of programming, is something I'm increasingly convinced of. We don't know exactly how the narcissists we know became narcissists, but narcissists can be made. And I'm thinking how to express this idea. I've seen people turn from being normal people into being indistinguishable from narcissists. And for all intents and purposes, they became narcissists. They contracted bad ideas that turned them into narcissists. But that's a topic for another video. Yes, Venice is amazing. Charlie. Well, Charlie, listen. Narcissists don't really live. They're there, but they're not having a human experience, not a pleasant one. They're living constantly in hell. So in many ways, you've lived them, outlived them. This is one of the things that really helped me, by the way, another reframe in terms of narcissists and emotions. When I was in the darkest situation, feeling the most pain and suffering and guilt and resentment and anger. That's why I understand the resentment and anger. I just think that, the quicker we get that out of our system, the better we live. So when I was there, I was thinking, how is this fair in any way? And fairness is, despite what we're told, fairness is incredibly toxic as a thought pattern. The other person has got what she wants and everything's working out. But then I realized everything she has is fake. Everything. She can't be happy. It's fake. Her life is fake. And this with every narcissist I met, completely fake. The authenticity that we share, they don't have. And that's one of the reasons why being in relationships with them is so difficult. You open up, expect something in return, and it doesn't add up, doesn't work out. Or you show some vulnerability and they laugh at you, don't understand it. It's simply because we're operating on two completely different levels. So it's fake. And do you really want to have a fake life? I don't. So, they have their life. I would not want their life. I would not exchange anything in my life for theirs. Don't want it. Mine is authentic. Mine's real. And all I want is real. Truth, reality. That's good enough for me. Not pretending, not LARPing, not wanting to be someone else. Just me. It's good enough. Being here now, just a lot to feel grateful for. And that, by the way, gratitude really is the key. Yeah, healing with humor. Yeah, thank you, Charlie. Thank you for coming in. And HR, yes, androids, exactly. View them as androids. There's another frame that works quite nicely, is to view them as NPCs, non-player characters. In video games, you have the non-player characters. So the player characters are humans who interact with or have this avatar that runs around. And the non-player character is the thing that looks like a human in the game, but is just programmed. The one that has got like 3 sentences that you can talk, that it answers 3 sentences, and they're pre-recorded, doesn't make any sense. Narcissists are really non-player characters. When you dig deeper, there's nothing there. They're really, apart from they've got more than 3 sentences, but not that much more. So yeah, androids, NPCs, not the real thing. Nothing surprising. One of the reasons why a lot of them can't create. They love to say they're creative, but they can't create. I'll tell you a story, actually, and I'll end with this. And oh yeah, Ian, exactly. Choose healing and love instead of destroy everything. Yeah, exactly. We choose the life we want. We can destroy everything. We can become bitter and resentful, but then we know the life that we're creating. I'll tell you 2 stories. So the destroy everything, I like using this image, which is that imagine that all of us are stuck in a mud pit. The mud pit is deep, the walls are high, and we don't know what is beyond the top of the walls, if anything. And in the middle of the mud pit, there's a hole, and it goes even deeper. And we can look down, but it's dark, it's deep, and it's not very nice. Some people are happy to just sit around doing nothing. Some people decide that it might be a nice idea to climb up and see if anything is there, because we've got nothing to lose. So it's an effort trying to climb. So some people try to climb, they try to find the way up. And if someone else wants to climb, then they'll show what worked, and they might hold out a hand to help someone else climb. The unhealthy people want to take someone on their back, but of course everyone should be climbing because it's difficult enough to climb on your own. But sometimes you're holding on with a hand to try to help someone come up, and you turn around and you see they've got their 2 feet pushing against the wall and they're trying to pull you down. Why? Because they can't stand that you are trying to go up, because that reminds them that staying there or going down is a choice. And they want everyone to fall all the way down to the bottom of the mud pit so they are not alone down there. And they're happy to have everyone fall down. The rest of us, we just want to go up. And if people want to stay, it can be tough for us to accept it, but we should accept it. And if people want to go up, then we can show them how we did it. And maybe when they slip, we can hold out our hand once or twice, checking that they actually want to go up. And maybe when we slip, they will hold out their hand and help us in return. So that was one of the points mud pit. And of course, sometimes we get to the top, we realize actually it's pretty good. It's pretty nice up here. And when you're holding the hand of a narcissist who's trying to pull you down, let go. They have every right to crash down to the bottom of the mud pit, and you have no obligation to follow them. Respect their choice, even if you regret it. You want to crash down? Be my guest. I'm not going down with you. I'm going up. And I'll show other people who want to go up how I did it. I'll respect you. And I'm not going to tell you what you should do. You want to stay? That's fine. You want to go up? That's fine. I'll help you make an informed decision. I'll do my best. It's your responsibility. Now, Shine Bright, thank you for tuning in. And yeah, exactly, Peter. They just rehashed the program. Now, I'll tell you, so I'll end with one story and then I'll disconnect. It's time to sleep soon. One person who's the one who helped me realize so much about narcissists and toxicity, that's the main person I refer to. She said that she was creative and she liked art and painting, but she said that she liked useful painting, which is a strange image. She liked useful painting. In other words, she liked taking wooden boxes and painting the boxes. Like, okay, that's decoration. But she didn't like taking a canvas and creating something. She didn't see the point. She didn't think that, she thought that was just a waste. But painting a box with little colors, for her, that was the serious stuff. Which struck me as weird, but of course I was being polite and agreeable and didn't say anything too much about that. But I thought that was quite surprising. And I remember she was very, very proud of having she painted a bird on a wall. Super proud. But what she did was she took a projector, projected the painting, and just drew over it. So I'd assumed that she'd taken the image and painted, which is fine, but she took the projector, which is okay. The end result is there. But the way that she portrayed herself as being, as loving art and painting and reality, it was a very strange mismatch. Yeah, there are a lot of such mismatches with people like that. Anyway, that's more than the 2 reframes that I wanted to share. The one of the killer robot and the one where we're just visiting this life and experiencing it. So on that note, everything that I've been through is part of this experience. Having a YouTube channel like this is part of this experience. Seeing the interactions, the comments is part of this experience, and I'm really, really grateful. In many ways, I'm grateful for the attention, the time, your generosity of comments, the support. And I'm also grateful because this really helped me turn some of the least pleasant moments in my life. I turn them into a learning experience for myself, but it brings so much more meaning to turn them into something I can share with other people. So thank you. Thank you very much for that. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you soon. Bye.